Well, with the government shutdown, a lot of things were up in the air with SNAP benefits. That, of course, affecting thousands of people across our community. So I figured that I would go over a couple of different meals that you can make for super cheap if you're just trying to feed your family. I basically said I have a $25 budget, and with that $25 budget, I'm gonna get 2 meals out of it. It was a little tough. I had to go through the grocery store app and see what was on sale and what I could find, but I ended up coming out with 2 different meals. One was shredded chicken tacos, and then the other was chicken noodle soup. So basically, I just have a couple of really easy staples from our pantry. Hopefully you have these at home. If you don't, hopefully you do have the means to grab some, maybe try a food pantry for them. Salt, pepper, if you have any sort of oil or butter as well. Pretty basic, pretty simple. Now we just have to go to the grocery store and get the rest. So if you have just a couple of extra dollars to spend, this is a great option. You can make chicken broth from this chicken base. It makes 38 servings and it's on sale for $5 right now. All right, so we've got our groceries. I went over to Fred Meyer for these. Let's take a look at what we got. We've got noodles for chicken noodle soup, cheese. You could put cheese on soup too. Some of these things you can use for multiple meals. Chicken stock for the base of the soup. Just gotta get everything out of the bag, and then we can see the total, because I'm pretty sure the receipt's in the very bottom of the bag. Tomatoes, carrots, celery, tortillas, which I kind of messed up, so they might be a little bit wonky of tacos, but that's okay. Just getting everything out. This happened to be the very last rotisserie chicken on the shelf. I was very lucky to grab it. I'm recording this at 10 in the morning, and typically they put them out at 11, so I almost missed them. But here's the receipt. Like I said, I was hoping to get 2 meals for under $25, and it came out to $23.30. So well within our budget here of $25, and both of these meals are pretty hearty. They should feed many people, and there's options too, right? I probably should have grabbed a can of beans for an extra $1, would have kept us under the $25 point, but then we would have had tacos and beans on the side. We are getting pico de gallo on the side of the tacos though, so that's pretty darn good. A couple of other things that I would mention is I went with single celery sticks and carrots. Something else you can do if you have a few extra dollars is buying a whole bag of carrots or a whole bag of celery. Then these become snacks later in the week, right? So you can buy some hummus to go with the carrots or peanut butter and raisins to do the ants on the log with the celery. Those are some really easy snacks, and then you're kind of double dipping, right? You're not buying a ton of different things. You're buying some of a few things and then using them throughout the week in different ways. That was kind of the idea behind the rotisserie chicken as well. Both of these are chicken-based recipes, and so if I had bought raw chicken for each of them, it would have been about, I don't know, $18 to $20 in raw chicken. Instead, we got a rotisserie chicken for $9, which we can split up and use for both meals. So that's that, under $25, all of the ingredients here. Now let's get cooking. Okay, I guess the first step is to cut up some of our veggies, because if we do that, then we can start deboning the chicken while the veggies cook down. I would like to just say, please don't judge me for my knife skills. This is a incredibly unsharp knife, so it does not work very well. I'm going to try my best here though to get it done and not hurt myself at the same exact time. So we're gonna start with the mirepoix for the chicken noodle soup. A mirepoix is a very simple, basic base for a soup that is kind of common, particularly for chicken noodle soups, but for a lot of different types of soups. Don't care too much about how it looks or how even the chops are. That's personal preference though. If you want it to be pretty, you can make it pretty. One thing that is also tight right now, obviously money's tight for a lot of us, but time is also tight, and so the hope was that these also would not take too much time to make. I will say though, I did buy obviously a good amount of stuff here. You can see. But there's a lot of other things that you can buy to have in the house to keep things kind of easy but cheap at the same time. Stock up on rice and beans. Those are really cheap things that are easy and filling and easy to make as well, pretty fast. Eggs obviously are pretty expensive right now, so instead of eggs for breakfast, maybe try oatmeal. Bananas are pretty cheap as well. One of my favorite breakfasts ever is oatmeal peanut butter banana. Another thing I don't think a lot of people cook with very often is lentils. Lentils are super cheap and packed with protein as well, even though they're not a meat. So if meat is too expensive for your budget right now, a good way to kind of work with that is adding a bean or a lentil of some sort to your grocery order and then supplement your protein there. So the mirepoix, if you're doing it technically correctly, is supposed to be slow simmered. It's not supposed to be sauteed at a high heat and browned very fast. It's supposed to slowly cook down. Again, that's like ideal if you were a professional chef trying to make the perfect chicken noodle soup. Oftentimes, I'll be honest, I don't do that. I am more about efficiency, and I'm sure it would taste a little bit better if I took the time to slowly simmer down all of my veggies and really caramelize them, but I often just saute them until the onions are translucent and the carrots aren't hard and call it good and go from there. The other cool thing about really any grocery store you go to is that you can take advantage of their deals. And so if you do want particularly more meats and proteins and things of that nature, there'll be different ones on sale for different weeks. And so you can kind of plan your meals based on what's for sale at the grocery store that you prefer. And that can really help take down some of the costs. Okay. So this is going to become the base for our chicken noodle soup. I chose a small pot for this. I did that on purpose. I like to make the noodles separately. If you make the noodles in the soup, then when you go to have leftovers, they can get really mushy. If you do the noodles separately in a different pot, then you can better control the level of cooked they are. Okay, so that just has to sit for a second. And by a second, I mean a few minutes. And while we do that, we're gonna take care of the chicken. The chicken is gonna be for both meals. So I think I mentioned that already, right? We've got an entire rotisserie chicken here. There we go. This guy is gonna give us shredded chicken for both our chicken noodle soup and our shredded chicken tacos. So I'm gonna get going at this. I'm gonna try to speed this up for you, that way it doesn't take as long. This is my least favorite job, so here we go. All right, we're back. I burned some of the bits here. I was very busy deboning our chicken and kind of forgot I had to stir this, but that's okay. It's just extra flavor, right? Next step is to add a little bit of seasoning. Not too much salt because the chicken broth is likely salty. This is 34% less sodium chicken broth though, so we'll see. A little bit of pepper. I probably should have done this while these were cooking, but that's okay. And then we're gonna add the chicken in. We wanna save enough for our shredded chicken tacos. That looks good. So, all right, one thing that I brought from home, totally optional. This would still be great without it. I brought some Italian seasonings. I think what's in here is oregano and then some basil that my mom grew last year and dried out. So from my mom's garden, which is really neat, and then a bay leaf. If you have anything of the sort, oregano, basil, I would have loved to put some thyme or some rosemary in. Again, the bay leaf is gonna make it really good. If you have a pot that gets things stuck to the bottom of it, this is a Teflon pot that doesn't. It's very non-stick. But if you have a pot like a Dutch oven or something that's gonna have something actually stick to the bottom, always deglaze your bottom of the pan. Just add like 1 to 2 tablespoons of the bottom, let it sit for a second, and then scrape the bottom. You actually want all the good stuff stuck to the bottom there. That's all good flavor to go into your soup. And then once it's deglazed, which again, I didn't really have to do for this, dump the rest of your soup in, and that becomes your soup base. Couple of other really easy things you could have added to this if you wanted to. I just didn't grab potatoes. Beans. White beans would have been really good in this. Some cubed up potatoes or sweet potatoes would have been really good. So there's definitely ways to make it better, add more sustenance to it if you're interested and if you have an extra few dollars to spend. Engineer Nikolai is here with us. I forgot to put water, and this lovely kitchen that we have here at KREM 2 doesn't have a sink. Could you fill this with water for me?
How full do you need it?
How what?
How full do you need it?
Like that full.
Is it hot?
No, it's not hot. You're good. Thank you, Nikolai.
Of course.
Look at that. That'll be so yummy. Okay, that now, we just let it sit. We cover it, we bring it to a boil. As soon as it starts boiling, we drop the temp as low as it can go, which on this is not very low, so we're gonna get it as close to simmering as we can and go from there. Unfortunately, I bagged our groceries haphazardly and I made tears in our tortillas. I am sorry. Oh, I also wanted to add some onion. Okay, hold on. Honestly, I would not put this onion in a pico de gallo typically. I meant to buy a white onion and totally forgot that that was the plan when I went to the store. So we're gonna go with it and I think it will be okay. But if I could do this again, I would choose there we go, a white onion or a red onion instead, because that goes both well in the chicken and in a pico de gallo. One thing that we do at home is we constantly use half of onions. So we cut them like this. We leave the outer skin on this part, and then we put it in the fridge. We put it in a little Tupperware. We have those little square Tupperwares, and they last a decent while. This is jalapeno. Oh, I'll tell you something about jalapeno. Sometimes they have zero spice. Sometimes they're the spiciest thing on the planet. So it's like Russian roulette for what you're gonna get. I always go full spice, just cut up the whole thing, inside seeds and all. Sometimes I regret that decision because sometimes it's so spicy. But sometimes it's perfect. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this in with our onions as well. Just zhuzhing up the chicken, you know? We really wanna make it yummy. And so we're, again, using the same ingredient, 1 jalapeno for 2 things. It's gonna be for the pico and for the chicken. Thank you. So now we've got onion and jalapeno for the pico, and then we'll just need to cut up the tomatoes and get some lime and salt and pepper in there. It's gonna be so good. If you don't want spice at all, one thing you can do is replace the jalapenos in the chicken for bell peppers, and you can leave them out of the pico as well if you don't want spice at all. Or if you want to just make sure it's really not spicy, but you still want the jalapeno flavor, you can take the extra time to basically gut the jalapeno the seeds and the white parts of the jalapeno is where most of the spice comes from. And so that's an easy way to get rid of most of it. All right, I think we're good with the onions. That goes in, that's our chicken. And then we're gonna cover it with taco seasoning, and that's what's gonna make this yummy. Now, our egg noodles are ready to go in. So depending on how many people you have eating, make as many egg noodles as you want. I prefer a lot of noodles in my soup. Jeremy prefers not as many noodles in his soup. So this is like a build your own kind of soup, right? You can put as much or as little as you want in. And that's why we like to do it separately. Some of this is stuff that's also really easy to do in advance, right? So like if you have some extra time on a Sunday and you want to make this pico beforehand, this will sit in the fridge. We let this sit in the fridge for days and eat it as leftovers, and sometimes letting it sit also lets the flavors marinate really well. This chicken, could have done this part of the chicken on a Sunday, and then if you want to eat the meal on a Thursday, then you can just do the taco part and have the chicken already ready to go. So hopefully that works. If you take a wooden spoon and put it over the top of a pot that's boiling starchy something, it will stop the starchies from boiling over. So that's fun. And now we're basically done. I'm just going to get some of this out of the bottom. That way we can use this same pan to make our tacos in. So this is, remember I mentioned if you have a pot that things stick to the bottom of to deglaze it, this is what I was talking about. Getting all those good bits off the bottom. These ones, we probably won't use. I could cook it off and throw it back into the chicken, which is probably the best bet because there's also not really a trash can in this KREM kitchen, which is functional, but not fully. So that's okay. We'll just throw it back in here, like that. And we get to start assembling tacos. So this is where we need that oil or butter again. It's just kind of weird to cook in a kitchen you're not used to. Everything's in a different spot. All right, this will just be little bits at a time. Butter. My tortilla disaster here. So we'll just lay that down, put a little bit of cheese. I would say that's the biggest thing in the grocery stores. I know time is hard, but if you have an extra few minutes to go through and really take a look at everything you want to buy and just choose the cheapest option. You don't have to go with the name brand. Often the in-store brand is the cheapest. There's cheese everywhere. It's not great, but it works. It ends up being yummy. Okay, I'm turning this off because it is boiling way too much and it can just sit for a while. Our quesadillas are going. Once our quesadillas are done, that's basically it. So we've got some pico de gallo, which I'm gonna finish up here. All I have to do is cut up a little bit more of the tomato and add some lime and salt and pepper, and then that becomes a perfect topping for our quesadillas, which were supposed to be tacos, but I messed up the tortilla, so that's okay. It's all the same ingredients. It's all gonna taste the same. Let's see. And then like I mentioned earlier, if you had an extra $1 or $2, grab a can of beans. That would have been a great side for this as well. I personally like to do whole black beans from a can, and then you put them in a pot like that size, and you add a little bit of water and like a taco seasoning kind of thing, right? If you have chili powder, salt, pepper, cumin, paprika, cayenne, any of that, just throw it in there. If you have a little bit of extra jalapeno, pop that in as well, and then cook it down with the water, and the water will eventually disappear, and you can mush up some of the whole beans, and it becomes like a homemade kind of quasi refried bean situation. Super good. I personally like it way better than buying just refried beans from a can. It doesn't take too much extra time to make it way better. And it's cheap, right? A can of beans is only $1, $1.50. So that would have been something I easily could have added to this meal if we wanted it to be a little bit more hearty. All right, Nate, we don't have a spatula, so I don't know how this is gonna go, but we'll try. Oh boy. The lack of spatula is a struggle. Ready? Boom. Okay, okay. It's something. It's not perfect, but that's okay. If you have a spatula at home, that would be helpful in this situation. But that's basically it, guys. I mean, we've got a little pico. We'll put some lime in it. We'll put some salt and pepper. We'll give it a little mix. And then you get to eat your chicken tacos or quesadillas, depending on what you like, for one night. And then you put whatever noodles you want served up in a bowl with your soup. And that's all there is to it. So let's get everything all in one spot. That shouldn't stay there for too long. We'll add just a little bit of salt to it. And a little bit of pepper. I don't have a spoon, but you know, in theory you would mix it. Where is this? I can use this. There we go. Now you've got a little pico de gallo to go with this. You just keep making these and you're good. So a couple of meals under $25. Hopefully that's helpful because I know it's tough right now and finding meals like this can be difficult, especially with everything going on and the amount of time that takes. So if this makes it a little bit easier, that's exactly what the goal is. So I'm gonna get this all fixed and that's that.